Gentleman's recognized for 4 minutes.
This is purportedly an absolutely essential extension of authorization for the Federal Aviation Administration to continue to operate after October 1st. Unfortunately, it has devolved into other issues because of it's turned into a Christmas tree on the Republican side of the aisle. Look, we need to reauthorize the Federal Aviation Administration. The last time Congress failed to do this, and the ticket tax, which is what pays for air traffic control in America, expired, almost every airline in America raised their rates 7.5%, got a $400 million windfall, which the government lost, and with the exception of two, I understand, Alaska and Spirit. So if we fail to reauthorize, we can expect that'll happen again. Actually, their long-term plan is to privatize the FAA, do away with the ticket tax, reap a $10 billion windfall, and then impose a new per-head fee to use our national airspace, which, oh, by the way, Congress will have nothing to say about that. There will be no elected official who will have any authority over what new fees they charge. That's extraordinary, and that came out of the Republican side of the Ways and Means Committee. What a bunch of losers. Come on, give me a break. You're going to allow the airlines to have the authority, a private corporation, to tax people in America. Oh, it's not a tax, it's a user fee. Well, it sure feels like a tax to me, and it's going to feel like that to your constituents. But when they complain, you'll say, oh, go talk to the private corporation. That's why we're here today, because the chairman of the committee has stubbornly persisted in attempting to privatize the air traffic organization of the United States of America, the most complex, the most efficient, and the safest system in the world. Yeah, there are a few reforms that are needed there. Most of them have to do with us. Congress sequesters their money, even though there's enough money raised in the ticket tax and other taxes to pay for the system. We sequester their money. We shut them down. We do dumb things like that. So I introduced a bill to take care of those problems, to exempt them from sequestration, exempt them from budget shutdowns, and to require reforms in their personnel procedures, their policy procedures in terms of acquisitions, and to enhance the role of their coordinating committee, which has been doing a great job coordinating between the government and the airlines and all the people who use the system, not just the commercial airlines, and authorized funds to rebuild some of the major air traffic control centers, which are falling apart. Instead, the chairman has insisted, we must privatize, because Canada did it, who's like kind of a little tiny fraction of what we are. And then the airlines have this fake group called the Citizens for On-Time Arrivals. We have to fly zigzag routes, which are World War II radar. No, actually, we have deployed a system where you could fly all the planes in America closer together with GPS, but the airlines haven't bought the equipment. So they're blaming the FAA. That kind of stinks. So, that's why we're here today. We have a bill that otherwise is totally agreed upon. If we were voting today on an FAA bill to give them a 6-year extension without privatization, with the reforms we need, we would be pressuring the Senate to get something done. Now, the Senate's hung up over whether or not you should have 1,500 hours of experience to sit in the co-pilot seat. After the tragic Colgan incident, reforms were adopted that made these requirements. So they're hung up on that. And on this side, we're hung up on privatizing the system. So it's sad that we've come to this point today. And my hope is that we will move forward soon in the bipartisan tradition of my committee, and we will move an FAA bill, and any amendments that are allowed or any riders or anything that's in it will have only to do with aviation, not to do with flood insurance, not to do with any of all these other miscellaneous things that are being thrown in here today. We're here with the Ways and Means Committee on a bill that should be a transportation bill. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
From Massachusetts reserves, the chair recognizes.